I am Quentin Collins, Associate Director and an alum of the Solstice Residency Master of Fine Arts and Creative Writing program here at LaSalle University. Welcome to the final in a series of 8 evening readings taking place here in Auburndale, Massachusetts, as part of our January 2026 10-day on-campus residency start of our spring semester. For tonight's reading, first up, we'll have Fiction for Adults and Young People faculty member Laura Williams McCaffrey, who will be introduced by Writing for Young People student Sarah Lewis. Then we will have Fiction for Adults faculty member Gina Chung, introduced by fiction student Andrew Polito. We'll conclude with our writer-in-residence Terrance Hayes, whom we're very grateful is able to join us again in person for the first time in more than 5 years, who will be introduced by our poetry student Shane David Morin. Sarah, come on up to the mic.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Perfect. As Q said, my name is Sarah Lewis. I'm a Writing for Young People student. I'm going into my second semester. It is an honor and pleasure to introduce you all to Laura Williams McCaffrey, who I had the pleasure of working with during my first semester. A writer from Vermont, Laura has published short speculative fiction in Cicada, YA Review Network, and Clark's World. Additionally, he had 3 speculative young adult novels, Marked, Water Shaper, and Aaliyah Waking, the latter having been listed as an International Reading Association notable book. When I came to Solstice and walked into my first workshop session, I was a little nervous. It was not my first time in a creative writing workshop, but it was my first in which I went in worried I was a little out of my depth. As many writers do, I tend to suffer from bouts of imposter syndrome, and of course they love to creep up at the worst times. What if I don't really know what I'm doing? What if I don't belong here? But as you can imagine, especially if you know her, Laura's gentle presence and kind, thoughtful insight has helped me to realize, hey, maybe I do know what I'm doing. In one of the cover letters I had sent during a packet exchange with Laura last semester, I expressed that the work I'd done in that packet was kind of a fail. And in her ever-present wisdom, her reply was something I'll always take with me. You're working out your ideas and you're striving. That's what learning involves. To me, a fail is sitting back and failing to really grapple with whatever you're working on. You're not sitting back. Please help me welcome Laura Williams McCaffrey.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, you're not failing. Is that gonna work? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Feels so strange I just got here. So I was with adolescents last night. You people are much more like quiet and focused. It's like a whole new world. But I really appreciate seeing you all and Q and Meg in her absence, and just honored to be up here and with you all today. I'm going to read something that some of you have been around a while and probably heard before. It was published kind of a while ago. It's the first part of a short story called, the whole story was published, but I'm just going to read the first part, called Into the Vast. All of my 14 years, we have lived in the dark because of the dragons. The stone walls of our cave hide us from them and also hide the light from us. I open my eyes, I close my eyes, darkness. High above, the rounded roof of our cave is mostly solid rock, but a few pieces have cracked and fallen away. When the sky is clear, sun and moonlight shine down, I stand in their beams and look at myself anew. I am brighter, I have sheen. Clouds drift, they cover the gleaming, and I am dull again. I can't tell where I end and darkness begins. Day and night, night and day, I wish to climb out into the vast, not just for a few moments, not just to hunt a little near our cave on nights when dragons are unlikely to leave their lairs. I wish to explore the entire slope, the mountaintop, the far-off city. I wish to roam as far as I can. How far? I don't know. I don't know. Far. I wish to roam when I wake, when I stretch, when I bathe, when I creep to the fire's coals and lie near them atop the warm stones. I wish to when I sleep. Why is it so hard to stop wanting what one can never, ever have? Out in the vast, fireflies flash. Light reflects on the rippled surfaces of streams and lakes. The rain glints as it falls. In the valley, far down the mountainside, the city sparks and flickers. Large yellow-orange beacons glow. The vast smells good, too. Wind carries scents I never smell in our cave. Apple blossoms, grass and mud, smoke from the city, piss and rot, lamb's wool and pine and raspberries. At the stream bank, a little ways from our cave, the rush of air is cool and smells of lilies. Rarely, oh so rarely, I am able to lie on my belly in the stream, cupped by smooth rocks. My feet and every single toe trail in the water. The scent of air washes over me. For days, I smell of lily. Usually, I smell of damp moss and damp rock. I smell of fish and frog. Most times when I ask if we might leave the cave, Mother says no. We can't go out to the vast, Mother reminds me, her voice sad or exasperated. The dragons are there. Yes, I know. Dragons burn the land, they hunt it barren, they steal all that glitters and shines. We keep nothing that's bright enough to draw them. Mother goes out rarely, only from dire necessity, and she never goes far. I must learn to do the same. It's not safe, nor will it likely ever be, Mother says. Another mother might lie to you and say later it will be safe, but I won't lie to you. I don't believe in lying. Sometimes I long to tell her, I prefer to lie today. Or, can't we for once just talk of sense and not of dragons? But I know the answers, and I know she'll say them in the tone she uses when I'm tiresome. I will feel stupid, a terrible companion for the endless hours in the dark. No matter what I long to say, I always answer, yes, Mother. Today I am hungry. I wish it were the safer time so Mother would take me out with her to forage a little. I try not to think of the ache in my belly. I walk the rim of the cave. The light from the overcast sky doesn't reach my path. I step quickly without stumbling. The soles of my feet know each hollow, each fissure and scattering of stones. I pause for a moment on a pile of small rocks. Their rounds and points press into the bottoms of my feet. Somehow this feels delicious, like the taste of tender meat or dripping honey. So delicious, it gives me shivers up the back of my legs, a shudder that makes my toes curl and my back arch. I hear Mother shift and I leap quickly off the stones. That shudder is one of the secrets I keep from Mother. Mother doesn't like secrets, but I do. They are hidden away like a snail shell sitting in a fissure by the undercavern's small pond. Snail shells too keep secrets. What do they hide in their deepest coil? I want to know, but I don't crack them apart. If I did, I'd have my answers, but the secret would be broken. My belly hurts so much I gag, silently though, so Mother won't hear. I don't want to upset her. She feeds us as well as she can, considering the dragons. Mother, I'm walking down to the undercavern to bathe. Again, she snaps. She must be hungry too. Let's go to the vast to forage, Mother. I send my urging. Let's go tonight. Well, a swim more than a bathe, I say. Her nails click on rock. You're always swimming. Let's go near the city this time, or up to the mountaintop, close to the stars. My legs, I was going to say that they're stiff from crouching, but she's in a poor mood, so she'll think I'm whining. I want to kick them. That's my strong girl. She sounds like she's smiling. Oh, sorry. I want to say strong for foraging, but Mother doesn't like to be urged or pushed. My wish to leave is suddenly big, a wind inside me that's so fast and forceful it will crack my bones open and split my skin. I begin to run through the dark to the boulder pile that leads down to the under cavern, to the pond of murk. Quiet, Mother commands. If the dragons pass by outside and hear you, they'll start hunting in these caves. How I hate the dragons. Down the boulder pile, into the water, I must sink under, I must keep my whole self from splashing. I raise my head above the surface, only my eyes and the tip of my nose. The darkness above the water is as dark as the darkness beneath. I take a breath of moss slime air and I sink farther. I kick and kick. My legs feel too short and stiff to carry me along. My nails have grown too long. They slice uselessly through the water. I kick. My muscles slowly lose their stiffness. I glide. I'm near the cave wall, a breath, then I drop and curl around to head back the way I came. I push and kick to the rocky incline that's slick with mud, drop and curl, push and kick. The whirlwind inside me still rages. As I reach the rocky incline again, I feel a touch on my head. I lift my face. I think we have to forage, Mother says, so gentle now, not snappish at all. It's the safe time? Almost, not quite, but you can come to the vast with me tonight, even though it isn't the safe time. I forget how grown you are, Mother says in her sweet voice, her sad voice, 14 years old. You're sad, Mother? No, just proud. Soon you'll be big enough to leave. You'll find your own cave, if you wish. Mother doesn't want me to leave. That's the sadness I hear. My much older brother, he went and he never comes back to visit. In fact, I've never met him. Mother doesn't even know where he is. I can't imagine going off forever. But I often imagine my brother. He walks along the mountainside carrying a city light. Up close, are city lights rounded like stars? I don't know, but this is how I imagine them. He walks the city's stony streets. Stony, that's how Mother says the streets are. He slips between the shadowy buildings that must be huge up close. Or I imagine him inside of stories Mother tells me. He has many companions, one pure and earnest, one clever and vain, one fool who's sometimes the wisest of them all. They seek a gold grail across the wide and tumultuous ocean. He loves his companions and they love him. Back to back, they fight their enemies, and at night, in the dark, they lay close to keep themselves warm. Sometimes I dream I sail with them. I fight beside them. I sleep among them, one curled around me. His breath and body warms me. This dream, that companion of my brother's curled around me, is another secret I keep from Mother. I can barely stay quiet on our way up the long tunnel. I ask, is that moonlight ahead? Quit chattering, Mother whispers at me, or I'll leave you here. This makes me walk more quietly. As we ascend, the air clears. I smell a hint of sweetness. A breeze brushes my cheeks. Stop, Mother whispers. In the starlight coming from the tunnel's opening, I see Mother crouch. We'll head across the mountainside. Don't stray far from me. There's a chance the dragons will be out. Listen for thumps or slithers in the grass. Also, this time of year, they smell like smoke and pig. Yes, Mother. Don't let the vast entice you. She presses her lips to my forehead. It seems so beautiful, but it is a wretched, savage place. Yes, Mother, I say. Yes, I hear you, not yes, it is. And then the rocks and grass press the soles of my feet. Wind trails across my face and neck. The dim mountainside stretches down toward the many lights of the city, up to the many lights of the sky. The stars gleam like millions of tiny white flames. The wind smells like honey, clover, violet, iris, lily, apple. The scent is so potent I can taste it on my tongue. I open my mouth and let it run down my throat. I notice Mother is already striding across the mountainside in the direction of patches of white sheep. I can smell them too, their dung and dirt, their grassy breath. I follow Mother, climbing down the mountainside a bit so she will be able to see I'm with her, but she won't be able to whisper to me. I don't look at Mother. I don't see her. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. There are other sheep lower down beyond an outcropping of rock. I head toward them, and my belly is so hungry I have to run. Running out here makes my legs feel lighter. I take leaping steps, careful feet, quiet. Ahead of me, from behind the outcropping of rock, a ball of orange light rises, a long form unfolds, and the light shines on a shaggy, rounded moon face, a dragon. I halt, so close, closer than I've ever been before. He reeks of pig and smoke. A dragon opening his mouth to actually speak to me. Stop, he commands in his squeaky dragon voice. I pant, unable to gasp through enough air. Stop, dragon, he says. Dragon? I whisper, looking over my shoulder for another of his kind. He holds his ball of light in its metal and glass box high. He points a long metal tube at me. It must be a fire shooter. Is there another out here, dragon? He says. You're calling me, dragon? I ask. Don't try to trick me with your riddles, he says. You're mad, I mutter. I hear cries, below on the hillside, many balls of light glow, metal clanks and fire shoots as the sheep bleat and run. Dragon, one of these voices calls. Get the dragon, there she is, the dragon's out of her hole. Dragon, I ask. The shaggy moon face before me begins to laugh. Don't you know what you are?
That's okay. Yeah, I'm a shorty. Nice. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Polito. I'm a second semester fiction student. I heard once that people are what make a place special. After my first workshop here at Solstice with Gina Chung, I knew that to be true. I remember feeling nervous, wondering if I was an imposter in a room brimming with talent. But when I met Gina in our first workshop, she put me at ease. I remember that she not only talked to me and my cohort like regular everyday people, but she also made us feel heard and listened to. Most importantly, she took our work seriously, and that made all the difference. Solstice is a special place because of writers like Gina. Because of writers like her, I have so much more insight into the craft. I think I speak for all of us that when you leave residency, you go recharged and ready to put what you learned into practice. Now, while Gina is an amazing instructor, she's also an accomplished writer with an impressive resume. Her collection of short stories, Green Frog, is a delight to read and a lesson in how to get your reader to empathize and feel for your characters. It should come as no surprise that Green Frog has received such critical acclaim. I would be remiss if I also didn't mention Gina's other work, like Sea Change, which was named the 2023 Barnes & Noble Discover Pick, as well as the New York Times most anticipated book for that year. Sea Change was longlisted for the Center for Fiction for Novel Prize as well. In addition, Gina was awarded the Pushcart Prize and was selected as a 2021-2022 Center for Fiction and Susan Camille Emerging Writer Fellow. Gina's work has appeared in publications like One Story, Bomb, The Canyon Review, Literary Hub, Catapult, Electric Literature, and Gulf Coast. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm Gina Chung, fiction faculty here at Solstice. I'm thrilled to be here, as I always am, and so honored to be reading tonight with Laura and Terrance. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that beautiful introduction. It means a lot to me. I have to thank some other folks as well. Thank you, Meg. We miss you. Quentin, Ellen, Cassie, and Noah for all the care, time, and energy that I know go into making the Solstice residency experience feel as smooth and enriching as it is. So I'll begin tonight with a reading from the opening of my novel, Sea Change. And it's about an aquarium worker in New Jersey who has reached something of an impasse in her life. And one of the few things that she feels gives her life meaning is a special creature at her workplace. Dolores is somewhere between 18 and 25 years old, so technically she's younger than me. But by sea creature standards, she's practically nonagenarian. In addition to being one of the last known giant Pacific octopuses in the world, she has the prestige of having been spawned in one of the most polluted zones of our warmed-over oceans, the Bering Vortex, where my father disappeared 15 years ago on what was supposed to be a routine research trip. I've saved and studied just about every known photo of the vortex. I've made notes on the sheen of its waters, which are red and green and violet, with toxins and spills from the refineries in Alaska. I've imagined going there myself to look for my father. Officially, he's listed as missing, presumed dead. I don't know if that last part is true, though. Sometimes I get calls from unknown numbers or numbers with area codes I don't recognize. And when I pick up, I swear I can hear waves of sound, spray and roar or breathing, a voice that sounds like it's trying to break through. When I first told Umma about the calls, she said it was just perverts or spam. But I can't shake the thought that it might be Appa, that somewhere out there he might still be trying to find his way back, and that the calls are his way of checking in, of letting me know that he's thinking about me wherever he is. The Bering Vortex isn't on any of the Alaskan cruise stops. The only people who go there are pollution tourists or researchers. The creatures that have managed to survive, mutate, and breed there, passing on their irrevocably altered genetic material over the last few decades, are biblical in size and shape and hard to see or catch. Climate scientists and marine biologists alike haunt the vortex, hoping for a sight of them, for a chance to discover what's allowed them to continue living under such harsh conditions. When Dolores was first caught, she was about 15 feet long and still growing, and powerful and smart enough that they had to lid her tank with iron. Now there's more than 20 feet of her, and her round, wicked eyes are the size of classroom globes, the kind I used to spin and place my finger on when I was a kid, trying to guess where I would land when the spinning stopped. The women of our family have never had luck with men, Amma said when I told her that Tay had broken up with me. She cites my grandfather's untimely death, which widowed my grandmother at the age of 32, as well as the fact that her younger sister was never able to find a husband, as further examples of this bad luck. Amma actually liked Tay, couldn't believe that her daughter had finally gotten herself a boyfriend who was not only Korean, but also smart, handsome, and had a real job. In a way, he legitimized me, made me into a girl she could finally start to understand the shape of. Tay wasn't supposed to leave on the Ark-Bohr mission. He was just one of thousands of volunteers on the wait list, waiting to hear the results of a lottery that would determine who'd get to join the crew for years of spinning around in the dark toward Mars to build the first human colony out on the red planet. I hadn't taken his interest in the mission seriously, dismissing it as one of those fantasies that scientifically minded boys always have about saving the world by leaving it. So what, if you get picked, then it's off to Mars? I said skeptically when he first told me he'd signed up for the lottery. He shook his head. It doesn't work that way, he'd said. I have to get picked, then pass the fitness and aptitude tests, and then there's a training program out in Arizona, a simulation to see if we can take it. By the time we started going into the different initiatives and goals of the program and the types of people they were looking for, I had already stopped listening. The vast darkness of outer space, which is totally unlike the darkness of the ocean, where even the most unfathomable, seemingly inhospitable depths still glimmer with signs of life, the kind of life you can see and touch, has never interested me much. When Tay finally got into the program, he waited until 2 weeks before he was supposed to leave for the desert to break the news. Ro, I have to tell you something, he said one night over bowls of green curry at his place. My stomach dropped because nothing good has ever happened after someone says that they have to tell me something. It was how Amma had told me that Appa's ship had gone missing and that there was no sign of him or the rest of the crew. So I steeled myself and watched my curry grow cold as he showed me the confirmation and plane tickets they'd sent him and the glossy welcome packet he'd received in the mail with the gold ARC 4 logo embossed on it. I'm sorry, he said after I failed to say anything in response. He took his glasses off and polished them the way he always did when he got nervous. But I can't turn this down. Can't you? I said, my throat as dry as sand. What's out there that you can't find here? Why is this so important? Ro, he said gently, as though I were a child, the planet is dying. ARC 4 is about finding solutions to an untenable problem. I wanted to be part of something like this since forever. What about me? I asked, my voice becoming high and strangled the way it always did when we fought. Tay hated that. What am I supposed to do? Just wait until you come back? He was quiet, and then I knew that he wasn't going to come back for a very long time, if at all. So that's from the opening of Sea Change. And I'm going to read now something a little bit different. And this next piece is quite new. It's from the beginning of a short story that I'm working on, untitled as of yet. And I haven't read it out loud before, so here goes. Oh, and one note is that I'm going to attempt to do a sound effect later on. So don't be alarmed. When I was 9 years old, a man moved to our small tree-choked town in the outer suburbs. A widower, he lived alone, and this would have made him unusual enough, even if he was not Korean. Aside from a few Puerto Rican and South Asian households here and there, my parents, my younger sister, and I were the only non-white people in town. My mother was the first to meet him at the supermarket in the produce section. He was clutching a cabbage, looking about 20 pounds underweight and utterly hapless, I heard her say over the phone to one of her friends. She had asked him if he needed help, and he had turned to her gratefully and, after one look at her face, asked if she was Korean. Well, of course I invited him to church. He's Presbyterian, he said. Lived over in Cresskill before his wife died. She paused while her friend said something on the other end. His son lives in Seattle. You'd think he'd want to move closer to his father after his mother's death. But, that's sons for you. It's always daughters who are the glue of a family, never the sons. All of my parents' friends were from the Church of Everlasting Hope, a small Korean church about 15 minutes away that we attended every Sunday. I couldn't remember a time when we hadn't gone to the Church of Everlasting Hope, or when our family's social life hadn't been structured around it. Many of the adults at church felt like aunts and uncles to me, in that we saw them regularly, and they felt free to praise, criticize, or interrogate me as they wished. There's our young scholar, the men would crow when they found me bent over a book after services. Have another slice of cake, the women would say, shoving a paper plate into my hand during coffee hour. Or alternatively, getting a little chubby, isn't she? Then they would all burst into peals of laughter, my parents among them, as though whatever I said, did, or became was the height of entertainment for them. I hated the attention and longed for the day when I would be able to come and go as I pleased, without the scrutiny that came with being my parents' daughter. But Mr. Ryu, which is what I was instructed to call this new adult in our lives, was different. He was tall, middle-aged, with salt and pepper hair, and no matter the weather, he always wore a beautiful, freshly pressed suit to church. He alternated between blue and gray, though he also had a black suit that he wore on special occasions. The creases in his pant legs were knife-sharp, and his jackets never slumped or strained across his shoulders. His white button-down shirts always looked immaculate and freshly ironed. He wore leather loafers that were old but well cared for and polished. And while he had a slight limp from an injury that he'd incurred in his youth during mandatory military service in Korea, he walked with dignity. He wasn't a handsome man. His eyes were too close together as though he had been drawn by a careless child, and his nose was wide and flat, the nostrils splaying outward. but he had a warm, inviting smile that endeared him to all. Most notably, he had the most singular laugh I had ever heard, and one I have never heard the like of since. He had a habit of clenching his teeth when he laughed, resulting in a rictus of mirth that both emphasized his merriment and distorted it. When he really got going, it sounded like he was sobbing, as though his mouth was at war with what he was feeling. Hoo, 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 he'd go. Hoo, hoo, hoo. I really knew someone who laughed like that. It wasn't long before rumors of Mr. Ryu's eligibility as a bachelor had rippled through our church congregation. He was inundated with offers to set up soge meetings with single women of all ages who were looking to get married. I heard all of this through my mother, who always shared random tidbits of gossip with me after her weekly phone conversations with her church friends. As much as I shied away from the attentions of my parents' friends and associates, I loved hearing about the ups and downs of their lives as though they were characters on a TV show. Sometimes, in her pleasure at having an audience, my mother would let slip some of the juicier details, such as the fact that Mrs. Kang's husband had been arrested for check fraud, and that was why they no longer came to church. Can you imagine the shame? Or that Mr. On's oldest son had eloped with a much older girlfriend, a woman 10 years his senior, if you can believe it. What if he doesn't want to get married again? I asked my mother after she had informed me of the congregation's designs on Mr. Ryu's singledom. What if he misses his wife? That's not the point, my mother said. A man of Mr. Ryu's age can't be expected to live alone for the rest of his life. Women don't need men, not like men need women. A woman can get along just fine without a man. Look at your grandmother. But a man without a woman, now that's a sorry state of affairs. She was referring to my father's mother, a woman who had been widowed at 40 but had soldiered on bravely through life, raising 5 children while juggling several jobs, and was now enjoying an early retirement, thanks to the efforts of my father's older brothers. She lived alone and unassisted in an apartment complex in Seoul and spent her days playing ping pong and going on cruises with her friends. I didn't quite understand what my mother meant when she said things like this, things that felt vaguely feminist but regressive at the same time. But I did know that our household revolved around my mother, whose many labors, both seen and unseen, were the fulcrum on which the rest of our lives rested. On the few times she'd gone out of town on her own for one reason or another, everything fell to pieces. At first, there would be an atmosphere of anarchic fun, as my sister and I were allowed to stay up late and watch TV at night as long as we'd finished our homework. We ordered Pizza Hut or Chinese takeout almost every night, our father too harried from his classes and grading papers to bother with trying to rustle up a home-cooked meal. But then the laundry would go undone. Dust would collect on the countertops and furniture, creating a sad gray film over everything. Mail would go unopened, bills and letters piling on top of one another in stacks. The house itself seemed to sag around its seams whenever our mother went away. I imagined that Mr. Ryu's home had fallen into a similar state of disrepair, all the more devastating for it being permanent, in his case, and felt deeply sorry for him. He dressed neatly enough and took care with his appearance, but who could tell what squalor he lived in? Thank you.
Adjust this for height a bit. Well, I'm accounting for his height as well. Sorry. Hi, I'm David Morin. I am a second semester poetry person here at the Stone. And I am incredibly honored and humbled to introduce Terrance Hayes. I first met him about 3-4 hours ago for the first time in my life. With that being said, as an educator, I was like, this guy is definitely fire. Like, he was challenging us to find the heat in the poem and like push all the craft stuff aside and like what's really going on kind of thing. And as a poet, I had first encountered Terrance Hayes' work in American Sonnets for My Past and Future, Assassin, 8 years ago. And it happened to be my friend and I were window shopping in a small bookstore in Dover, New Hampshire, which is no longer in existence. There's a weird thing with Dover and bookstores. They just don't get along. It's the strangest thing. Anyways, when I cracked open his collection and was first introduced to the idea of an American sonnet, I was like, all right, this is something totally different. And then this past year, when I returned to it during my first semester here, I was just sucked in. And on to the actual bio. Terrance Hayes has a huge list of awards and accomplishments. In his poems, though, in which he occasionally invents formal constraints, Hayes considers themes of popular culture, race, music, and masculinity. In a 2013 interview with Lauren Russell for Hot Metal Bridge, Hayes stated, "I'm chasing a kind of language that can be unburdened by people's expectations. I think music is the primary model. How close can you get to this language to be like music and communicate feeling at the base level in the same way a composition with no words communicates meaning? It might be impossible. Language is always burdened by thought. I'm just trying to get to it so it can be like feeling," end quote. Hayes's poetry collections include So to Speak, American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassin, which was a finalist for the National Book Award, How to Be Drawn, which was a finalist for the National Book Award and National Books Critics Circle Award, Whitehead, winner of the National Book Award, and a finalist for the same. Okay, gotcha. I tell you, long list, really awesome. About his work, Cornelius Eady had said, "First, you'll marvel at his skill, his near-perfect pitch, his disarming humor, his brilliant turns of phrase." And with that, I give you Terrance Hayes, who's shooing me off the stage.
I appreciate it. I just don't hear what you think. I don't care what that other stuff is. So I heard that. I appreciate you. Always good to be here, y'all. We ain't got that much time. I'm gonna set my timer and try to read stuff that I have never read out before. Because I'm gonna try to send some stuff out next week. So I was like, let me see if these things are working. This first one was kind of like my holiday poem to friends, like an occasional poem. Review to Remember is what it's called. Should you need it, here is your review to remember. In 2025, just above and below the moments of helplessness, linger good moments with no objective measures. Take a moment to recall the moments you got most excited, those little cinematographies of summer, the harvest or park or parking choreographies, those occasional ethereal slow motion evenings. Many moments were dark comedies about the capitalist dehumanization of security. The bombs were ubiquitous. You had to keep your limbs loose until the sunrise became a warm velvet. At the start and end of the year, your Mondays featured students writing about their bodies, the only resource anyone can claim for most of their life. Several of the year's best moments came at the birthday parties of your cousin at 54 and your grandmother at 90, though some of those moments that followed constituted a pot-boiling melodrama because your mother chose to miss both parties. The year in review celebrates several days in the company of your son, daughter, and niece, the 20-somethings, in April in DC and over dim sum in Chinatown at Thanksgiving. High on the moments in review are the extraordinary hands of your daughter directing her brother and cousin as she stages an art exhibit selling her handmade lamps against the unraveling darkness of the government. Her pale, soon to be let go by the Treasury Department ex-boyfriend coming and going nervously as handsome brothers came and went. In March, there was this brief, glorious moment wherein there was not a whiff of Trump musk spoiling the air of your ninth grade niece's track meet. A few memorable moments offered glimpses of what one can be. At this age, the most important thing your talent and resources can secure is healthy love. The moments you left your phone unplugged in another room always were more memorable than when you kept the screen close to your face, making everything feel as nebulous as it does. Those moments are prized for your attention. You argued whether one had to lie to dream, the tensions between charm and narcissism, the existence of time. You argued these things with everyone younger than you. Your niece, son, and daughter for Thanksgiving. Remember what it felt like having them in the house when the bombs are ubiquitous. Some moments were propelled by fantastic performances by the offspring of others. Sometimes a moment suddenly put you directly inside another moment that cut back and forth across multiple moments, and you got lost trying to reconnect with the 20-somethings whose childhoods were set around you, and they partly think every moment in their life is about, and partly think every moment is about their life in some way. At moments like that, it's important to know you're not alone. Your top 10 good moments of the year include seeing sinners once with your son and once with your daughter. The central conflict was between creation and consumption on and off screen. Real people were real characters. This year gave you new perspectives on parenting. Some moments held the best physical comedy in years. The less inventive missteps had everything to do with gravity. You define space in terms of boundaries when space operates outside boundaries. You define time by beginnings and endings when time has no beginning and ending. Remember, you only have to be good, clear, and kind. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to hold it. I mean, some of them are weird, like spirit pie. Now that you've mouthed the pie before you like a small boat constructed of ingredients made by one who has been taught to make fire in a trunk of a tree, I will tell you a little about my task and past. Seldom was the seed of the flower. Meat was not a vegetable, but fruit may be a kind of animal. After being fed abstract foods like refurbished peas, artificial mother's milk, Wonder Bread, I lost faith in food and its cultural machinations. The flowers gave birth to apples, the dogwood blossoms, the strawberry petals on the roof. I digested grief, fear, blindness, hypertension. After the apple seeds, asleep in the yard, awoke, they jumped from the tree to roll in the grass like toddlers on the first Mother's Day. Full of sunflower seeds, I changed my name to Icarus and joined a league of abstract acrobats. I opened a diner called The Fork in the Road, where our logo was a pitchfork and a crossroad. We only used forks in medium and small. My hands would not come clean in the shower. The apple skins left a taste like old-fashioned weather. The dogwood leaf grew from my left ear. A rich black dirt drizzled from my middle ear. A dog's tail hung from the right ear. I began to drink with the butchers in the bars where the hand towels were stinking pink. I lived on so much meat, the dogs would whine and follow me home. I craved the pie you made for me. That makes you want to read bad. Like, when you're clapping, I'm like, you can be something that nobody. I thought that's what that was going to be. Here's one that's not titled. I'll just going to read them. In the beginning, there was between our subjects enough words panting like long-distance runners in a marathon across the globe. So when their lines ran out of road, they sent as many drawings and photos as there were things in the world between them, images of the unsayable and unsaid. The problem was our subjects longed to unpack, was reduced to words provided by prior subjects along this path. The subject between them was like sunset on the sea, except the sea was a picture of water and the sunset a red flower in a turquoise vase. After both our subjects' eyes declined, sound became their subject, which was like the mouth of a phone holding laughter, except the phone was a sea and the laughter was drinking water. If only the smell of jasmine was sealed in a ring box and mailed across the world, what would you smell when it reached you? Years they found ways to measure or shape, define or grow or simply shape what had not been shared, sending sounds of their different worlds by voicemail, audio tapes, all joy, except the one where an entire choir broke out crying before the song was finished. After they shared music of their childhoods and music played on instruments they made themselves, they shared the music of ordinary tasks, the wind and curtains, deep breaths, except inevitably their hearing quit. Smell is impossible at great distances. The hypotenuse of desire runs from the hands to the telepathic mind, except the slope of the mountains between them is measured from sunrise to moonlight that refuses to stay still on a road into the hills where young men and women move between wolves and foxes. The roof of the mouth was the shape of their subject. It was like that of an open box filled with the painting of a seaside, except the sky is the smell of violet paint and the sea is a picture of water. Here are some things that smell like jasmine: the fold and fingers in the back of the knees, the light on the stairs, ink in a burning letter, the cry bleeding from the chords of a sad song, steam with the fragrance, smoke inside the steam. Radio Kafka. Hello, weary travelers. You are tuning in to Radio Kafka, broadcasting across an existential interspatial highway of separate sounds, separating you into layers of past and present, earth and air. This is DJ PTSD in training with my cohorts, the Ghosts Keeping Faith. Coming up after the break, a celebrated disbanded synth rock band returns with all new personnel on their most personal record to date. You will be listening for disclosures inside a soundtrack meant to keep you in motion. The time is now a few seconds past a moment ago, and it is nonstop. Coming up after the weather, our surprise studio guest experimental beatbox recital, lovely reverberations of abstract truths, as if several people are dancing on plastic bubble wrap and stilettos and work boots. Coming up later after the news, an ambient underground tape pioneer crafts sorrow into beauty. Have mercy. It's the day between days. It's 10 till 5 minutes near the middle of the hour. This time check is brought to you by imaginative appliances of the sonic sciences that make your realism a little less real. You are tuning into Sound, Thinking, and Feeling. This is Radio Kafka. We'll be right back after a few words from our sponsors. Here. Apologies of perception or visions of a housefly. That's what I got for the title. On a day so hot, not even the housefly watching you can move. You notice its eyeballs are almost favor the shiny black domes that cover airport security cameras. The housefly's compound eyeballs look like headlights wearing prescription Coke bottle goggles in a violent heat. When your fingernail scrapes a lash or flake of ash the size of a fat fly's wing from your eye, it's multiplied several thousand times in the housefly's compound eyes. The black fly breeds in streams and rivers during the dog days of summer, but cannot survive on sadness like the housefly. Bubbles of good and bad air flare in individual hexagonal lenses known as amamatia. Actually, I should look that up first. Each amamatidium functions like an eye, but none see spectrums of red or yellow. To the fly, you are myriad mosaics of ultraviolet, gray, blue, and green trichromatic visions scraping something from your eye. A tear of oil or sweat, a bud or bead of mucus, a pearly, blurry larva recalling the housefly's first dog days on Earth. When it's this hot, you may also contend with the horsefly, which is what you almost think the housefly is when you look at it. The fangs of horseflies tear the ears of the dog days. The sores shine on the ears of the dogs like diamonds. Dog days swarm the earth. Houseflies rise like small planes orbiting an inflamed, flammable planet. Houseflies rise out of maggots like fragments and figments and scabs and clouds of ash. Praise be to the one housefly that does not flee, the wind at bay gone violent. You cannot shoot the climate. Your body's thousand vagaries are perceptible in the eyes of this particular fly. You are multitudinous, outlandish landscapes, which is to say, you are more than otherworldly, scraping and scratching the flake or lash, itching your eye in the eyes of the fly. You cannot shoot the fly. I got one more guess, And then I have do I have one more for you? Here, let me try this other one. This is untitled. And then we'll do one more. One of these subject ones again. As we open, the subject unfolds with the powerful sort of umbilical cord plugged into its center. The subject proceeds into our drama attached to this elastic sort of electrical thread, spooling from some unknown or quickly forgotten source, this slinking pipe-like spiritual tube, which varies in size and various points in our subject's plot, and can be used as a belt or a tie or a scarf, depending on weather and occasion. The backdrop is blurred. Our subject embarks on a study of existence, drawing timing and juice from the cord. The lips smack with fluency about all of nature. The subject killed 2 birds with 1 rock. The subject moons smoking with no paper and the brightness of the afternoon. Caught between a rock and a hard place, the subject becomes a beetle in some tale, a cockroach in others. The subject wears looking glasses and a camouflage smirk. The subject is a well-meaning wickedness against competitors. The subject is looking directly at the campsite smolder. The subject wears a whodunit insignia, a shit-for-brains helmet, and boots. When the subject removes the boots, ash blackens the subject's socks and toes. Earlier, he turned himself into fire. When he was fired, the wood bit at his touch, metal and plastic. Most of the bricks could fit beneath his nails, not to mention the people who'd hidden themselves inside of the ash. Only by removing the nail could the ash be removed before the subject bathed. Leaning to remove the nail, the subject squinted at something appalling smaller than an eyelash, smaller than a filament that makes the spider web. The water was cleansing. The water was like fire. Okay, and this is the last. It's got corrections in it. So I'm gonna try to articulate that. It's like verbs are marked out in it. So it's called solfege, which is the scale. Do, re, mi. Oh yeah. That's called solfege. Line over the E. Okay, but it's really see this map. I'm trying to explain stuff that I haven't read out. It's about anti-fa. They're like anti-fa. Who are the people that are against? Anyway, okay. So when the law outlaws fa, the first to fall victim, I can't say fall. So that's how it fall. I'm just going to read it. You see me now? I'm going to read it. You see me now? Okay. So when the law outlaws fall, the first to fall victim. So when the law outlaws fall, all become victims of the law. So the farthest away. So the distant dads become more distant. So families fail. So blood becomes fabric. So blood becomes brick and or hood over facts, acts on the chopping block over factors, actors. So then blood gets on the faces, the hoods of the onlookers. When the law outlaws fa, there can be no faces in crowds or mirrors, no facing the music, no face value, only expressions and gestures to the upper extremity. So it is written, there can be no crowds, no mirrors, no music, no value in expressions and gestures deemed offensive to the upper extremities. Everything everyone is taught to sing unravels at me. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, sol. The far-sighted are sighted in fractions. Famine becomes a figment of the mind in the minefield. Faith becomes hope. Sort of the sound is inextricable from sphincter, fart, rubber, weather, gravity. The law cannot fall away nor ever fail, says the law. Fascination almost becomes assassination. So over time, what is unsaid and said grows familiar, similar. The sound comes to be mocked. There are cults without faculty. So yes, you can protest within the invisible boundaries of the law. And because nothing can be false, when the arrest feels so spontaneous, so organic and quiet, that the underground singers say, phosphorus, 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 phosphorus. Thank you.
Thank you again to Laura, Gina, and Terrance. One more round of applause.